One of the easiest details we can add to our models is scrap wood piles and boards. They're everywhere. You can find in loading docks, on the side of the tracks, and so forth. And most of the time I just stain mine with alcohol and ink and call it a day, or I'll dry brush it as well. But there's a few more things we could do to make it a little bit more realistic. So I'm staining my strip wood with a mix of India ink and alcohol. I'm using 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x10s, as many sizes as you can. First thing we need to do is take all of our wood after it's dried and start breaking it into smaller scrap-sized pieces. You could do this by hand. Which is good. You'll get some nice jagged edges on some of them. And then you can also just cut it, get some straight ends. Now you could add these to your diorama or your layout scene as is. They look like old boards, that's great. But we want to add some history to these boards. Boards get mildewy and moldy, they get rusted by nails in them, they rot, they get black and oily. You name it, anything happens to scraps out in the world. So we can start with a few different colors. We're using AK Interactive Enamel paints. This is dust and dirt deposits. These all have to be thinned with mineral spirits when we use them. This is streaking grime. And the idea is just to have a variety. This is a light rust wash. And this is moss deposits. And we're also using engine oil. And we're also going to use some weathering powder. This is white. Sometimes boards get stuck in all kinds of materials and minerals and concrete, and they'll leave some different kind of residue. So this will give us a nice variety to our scrap boards. So we don't want to do the same color to all of our boards, so let's kind of portion them out a bit. We'll start here. Some will overlap and get different materials, different washes more than once. But for now, let's start with this. And we're going to use our dust and deposits. And this is more of a transparent wash. It's not really paint, which is good. That's kind of what we want. And we're going to take a toothpick and start flicking the paint across the boards. So you can see here already these tiny little spots and flecks already changed the look of the board. You've got the stain from the ink wash, and then you've got these other spots, and it starts to look a little bit more realistic with this extra layering. So I'll put these aside. We'll get another batch in here. Let's try the rust. You can always test it off on the scrap portion of your cardboard if you want to see how it's going to look. I'm going to go back to my other pile and just give this just a hit. So some will get it, some won't. Get a little moss deposits on there. Now we've got some engine oil. That is a nice looking mess of wood. Those little spots that get on there. You could never do it by hand with a brush. That's why this toothpick trick of flicking the paint on works great. You get the tiniest little specks and spots. Now I'm using streaking grime. So now I've just got some clear alcohol, even though it doesn't look clear. It's in a filthy cup, but it's clear isopropyl alcohol. And I've got some white weathering powder, which I'm just gonna take some powder, get the alcohol just a little bit, and just kind of randomly hit some boards, not all of them. You could also use a gray chalk. It really is kind of endless what you can do, but basically you just want a good amount of variety beyond the stained alcohol and ink boards, which is what we have now. So I'm going to shove them all together now. And as one last wash, I'm going back into my alcohol and ink. Here, this is my bottle of alcohol and ink. And I'm just randomly just going to hit a few more spots. You can also drip it on if you want. Now we can get these in a cup or a tray, whatever you got. Get some on the layout. So I hope you see that it's a pretty easy way to get some better looking scrap boards. I hope you give it a try. You can probably use acrylic paints as well if you dilute the paints with water, but we'll leave a link down below where to get those AK paints. And we'd like to thank our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see more content, more behind the scenes stuff with our layout, what's going on with new kit releases, we post almost every day, sometimes twice a day, and we hope to see you there. Thanks.